Fine food à la carte. In our restaurants we enjoy fish from all over the world. But in Europe, the ocean's fish populations are depleted. Therefore, we send enormous fishing fleets to foreign coasts in all oceans of the world. In the southern hemisphere, 500 million small-scale fishermen suffer from the merciless quest for the last fish. The fishermen on the coast of West Africa are left only with the small fish, slipping through the nets of the industrial trawlers. The exquisite and fine species of fish end up on the plates of better-off eaters in Europe and Asia. Father and son fishing on the Atlantic coast of Senegal. Souley is the family's youngest son. While he is still learning from his father the traditional craft of fishing, he is in doubt about his future. He thinks about escaping to Europe. Hope is all that's left for Suleiman, but God decides who leaves and who is to stay. Man can only obey and try his luck. I can't work on the pirogue any longer. Twice already he failed to flee to Europe. 2 of his brothers have made it. In Senegal, 1/5 of the population survives by fishing. Fish is an elementary part of the country's diet. The sea determines daily life at the coast and small islands. However, the fisherman's way of life is in danger. The young men in the villages lost faith in the legends of the old families of fishermen. The situation worsens day by day. Unemployment increases and the fish in the sea diminish continuously. We have lost our belief in fishery. Many young fishermen like Souley only see one way out of their difficult situation. They long to escape to faraway Europe, crossing the ocean with their pirogues. Only women and children remain back. Some people don't want to hear anything about leaving home. They are successful in their profession without having to go away. If there was any support in this country for these so-called refugees, who are actually fishermen and stock farmers, then they could also be successful here. Fishery is a thing of the past. Today there are twice the amount of pirogues. Where there used to be 500 pirogues, you now have 1,000. Some areas rich in fish still exist, but we cannot go there. They are overcrowded with ships, and these destroy our nets. We often pour diesel into the sea and set it alight. This is the only way to get their attention and make them leave.
waaw ci la ñu doog a gis waaw.
The sea on the shores of Senegal is believed to be one of the richest fishing grounds in the world. In the last century, the fish catch has more than doubled. Hence, 3/4 of all fish species are overfished. This state of emergency unifies the fishermen. Mamadou Thioune is spokesman for the collective of small-scale fishermen. If you look at the history of fishery, you can see that we have problems, because the fishery is ill. The cause for the illness is corrupt political administration. Where was our army when the thieves snatched away our fish? When they stole the fish and brought it to Spain? They are still anchoring in our harbours. Where was the navy? Foreign fish trawlers largely contributed to the depletion of the fish stock. At first came the fishing fleets of the former Soviet Union and caught vast quantities of anchovies and mackerel. They processed them to fish oil and meal. The Soviets were followed by the Europeans, fishing for tuna and expensive fine fish, gilthead, sole, octopus and white grouper. At the beginning of the new century, the trawlers of the European Union were still able to meet their fishing quota. Today it is hardly worthwhile and the fishermen catch less and less fine fish. The Senegalese small-scale fishermen demanded the politicians to cancel the fishery agreements with the European Union. Necessity forged a bond between the fishermen. Gassou Gai, General Secretary of the African Union of Professional Artisanal Fishing Organizations, was present at the hearings. The agreement signed with the European Union dictated a yearly scientific inventory of health and population of the fish. This never took place. In 2006, when we realized that the main species were overfished, the small-scale fishermen urged the government to cancel the agreement with the EU. Even after abolishing the agreement with the European Union, the fishermen have to go very far out to sea for a good catch. Giltheads, soles or the white groupers, a very popular fish in Senegal, become a rare sight far from the coast. The fishermen spend several weeks out at sea fishing in neighbouring countries like Guinea-Bissau and Sierra Leone. To do that, strong engines, navigation systems and large amounts of fuel are needed. They also have to take durable provisions for weeks and large quantities of ice to keep the fresh fish. The expenses have multiplied, but the catch stays small. The fishermen are forced into debt, and often they can't even pay their crew. Only a few fishermen are still trying to catch fine fish, but they only get €2 for 1 kilogram of soles. The fish is transported by truck to the processing plants in the capital city Dakar. Here the fish are filleted according to the demands of European or Asian clients. Sole, for example, is delivered to large fish traders in France for €8 per kilogram. Nonetheless, high costs for the air transport are carried by the Senegalese firm. Fish from Africa is becoming ever more popular in Europe. Bought cheaply, it is then sold to the consumers at a high price. From this final market price, the Senegalese fisherman earns less than a 1/12. People in Western Africa cannot afford the fine fish. 3 parts of the daily catch are pelagic schooling fish like herring, sardinella or mackerel. These species can still be caught near the coast. Therefore, the fishermen have lower expenses than catching fish for export. Being an important part of poor people's diet, even these species of fish are diminishing continuously. Too much young fish is caught in the nets of the industrial trawlers. They are thrown back into the sea, dead. In addition, there are too many pirogues for too little fish. The small-scale fishermen have a hard time catching the demersal fish species. Nevertheless, they carry part of the responsibility for fishing with too many pirogues. Additionally, we have foreign trawlers. From Asia, for example. We might even be fishing here illegally. Furthermore, there are the trawlers of the industrial Senegalese fisheries. Then also so-called joint ventures with multiple fishing boats, financed with Senegalese and European capital. Everybody knows that in reality, these joint firms belong entirely to the Europeans. The Senegalese are only strawmen. The foreign trawlers find their way into Senegal, with or without an official agreement. The joint venture firms own 20 fishing vessels and continue to fish octopus and gilthead for the European market. Fraud is part of the business. The deep frozen catch is often transferred into refrigerated containers and then leaves Dakar's harbour for further processing in Spain. In this West African country, the entire fishing industry suffers from the increasing absence of fish. Spokesman for the Union of Industrial Fishery and Processing is Dugutigi Coulibaly. The businessman complains about today's problems. It's very logical that the fish diminishes if everybody is fishing in our seas. If the fish diminishes further, the factories and trade's capacity utilization drops to 30 or 40%. Under such circumstances, they are soon forced out of business. That is the reason why fish factories in Senegal are closing every year. The women always used to buy the fish directly from the pirogues. But now they only get their turn after the traders have sold the best fish to the export dealers and factory agents. Pelagic fish like sardinella and mackerel is all the women are left with. In Wolof, the national language, these fish are called yaiboy. In order to compete with the wholesalers, the women affiliate themselves in unions. Collaboratively, the women process their fresh fish purchase. Smoking the fish in ovens makes it durable. Other basic traditional ways of processing are drying and salting. If processed well, the dried fish, ketcha, can be transported over long distances as far as the edge of the Sahara. The dried and salted fish is sold on local markets. Even the poor population can afford to buy small amounts of ketcha. The fish is used as an ingredient for sauces or rice or millet meals. Only the rich can afford a whole, fresh fish. Due to the shortage and soaring prices, the consumption of fish per person decreased by a third. However, here, fish is essential due to its high levels of protein, especially for mothers and growing children. Even pelagic fish has now become part of the fishing quota on the coasts of Western Africa. The voracious trawler nets swallow up the food of millions. 18 Russian ships fish on our coast. They hold a permit from the highest Senegalese fishing administration. That is completely illegal and infringes our fishing laws. They hooked our pelagic fish to these ships for only $35 per ton. They turn it into fish meal and oil. The European Union had taken on the fight against illegal fishing and entered into agreements with Senegal. Yet these agreements were violated by the government of Senegal itself. To report this offence, the representative of the small-scale fishermen travelled to Europe. The EU created the border agency Frontex to fend off refugees. In my opinion, it would be better to fight illegal fishery to prohibit the commercialisation of the stolen fish in Europe. Various events inform the German public and politicians about the situation in Senegal. Gausu Gai gains a lot of affirmation from media, representatives and participants. He is supported by activists from development agency Bread for the World. The small pelagic fish that were sold to the Russians are the basic nourishment of the Senegalese people. The fishermen are forced to lay their boats, the pirogues, on the roadsides, because it is not worthwhile to continue fishing. Deadlock. The fishing sector fights for survival. The workers are waiting because there is no fish. They are also scared of the future. These people are out of work now, but businesses with full capacity utilisation are important for social peace. If you take this factory, for example, producing tin fish, it has 2,500 employees. Can you imagine that every single one of those 2,500 is supporting 20 family members at home? That is why we are so important for political stability. Blame lies with the president. There is public outrage among the fishermen when again, in spring, the government issues illegal licenses to foreign fishing boats. The unemployed youth, students, farmers and merchants demand politics free of corruption. Together they call for their corrupt government to resign. That is grand theft. If we let them continue like that, we will be finished next year. Where is it going to end? All men here are either fathers or supporters of their families. They fight for the collective good of Senegal. We are prevented from fishing. The fish are taken from us and shipped to foreign countries. We cannot agree with that. The elections lead to success. The corrupt president has to leave office. A political shift and a fresh start with best intentions. Fishermen, scientists and international organisations debate at a conference how to obtain reliable data on the remaining fish stock. The government representative explains the decision of the new government to withdraw the licenses of foreign fishing boats. Cooperation, shared responsibility and control are the key issues. Diha Belabib, a marine biologist, heads a project on the historical development of the nominal catch data and delivers facts on how to measure the current stock of individual species. Together they try to find solutions to stop the overfishing in Senegal. The representative of state is willing, after this democratic turn, to take seriously the suggestions of the conference towards overfishing. Lobby for the fishermen on all areas, Francisco Mari of the German organisation Bread for the World, explains to the media that besides the representative of Senegal, the European Union also has to take responsibility. We support this conference for research as a starting point to obtain scientific results to show if there really is a surplus in fish species. If this would turn out not to be the case, then I would say, throw all European catching ships out. We Europeans have all